Unfortunately, if you've not been in the military, reading a map and compass is kind of a dying art. I'm really trying to push to keep from it being a dying art. More and more people need to know how to read a map and compass, especially if you're going to spend time in the outdoors. Not all trails are on planned little canned maps and stuff like that. So, actually knowing how to bushwhack and get to where you need to go is extremely important. So, I'm speaking with Paige Darden from MyTopo, and we talk a little bit in length about what MyTopo has to offer. If you're looking for an actual topo map, if you're looking for a waterproof map that is going to just last for a long time, is rip resistant and UV resistant, stuff like that, MyTopo is the place to go. I'm also going to link in my description where you can find an actual guide to how to use a map and compass. It is extremely important. When I was in search and rescue in Montana, several people would be lost and not have a map and compass, and we'd have to go out and try and find them. And even the people that did have a map and compass that we ended up having to go and find didn't know how to use it properly. So it's extremely important, and you can't always rely on technology. I can't tell you how many times my GPS or my phone has died. It's just a great, great system to be able to know and go back to the basics. So, with that, enjoy the show and thank you for listening to the Primitive Republic. All right. Good to have you on. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Yeah. So, you found any bees yet?
No, I did actually try. The last 2 weekends I've gone on big 9-mile hikes and tried finding bees. The last time I took my little new bee box that I ordered, but I didn't find any bees.
Oh,
But
so you,
lots of bumblebees, but no actual honeybees.
really? So you ordered a little bee box, like one for trapping? Is that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. um, wow, that's surprising that you didn't find any. Um,
I mean, I didn't look real hard because I was with a group of people who thought it was a little crazy that I was trying to, hunt for bees. But I did carry my new little bee box and some markers, and if I had found them, I was gonna just say, "You guys go on, I'm staying here bee hunting." But I didn't
uh,
find
5 miles back in, you end up going
them.
another 3 miles in opposite direction just so you can find bees.
Right.
Man, that's kind of depressing that you didn't find anything. But
Well, I think you have to sort of learn what they're foraging on, and, I just gotta get a better
yeah,
sense of.
yeah. I mean, the big thing is you got to find a lot of forbs and all kinds of stuff like that, different flowers,
Yeah,
stuff like that. So,
yeah, I'm gonna stick to it. I'll find them. One of these days, I'm gonna have success
oh yeah, definitely, that'd be cool.
with my bee box or just by accident by looking up in a tree and seeing them.
Well, I have not had any luck with just looking up in a tree, but hey, it happens, I suppose.
I do look at trees differently now, thinking, I wonder if there are bees in that dead tree.
Well, yeah, yeah, that would be pretty cool. But so yeah, I've actually gotten, oh, let's see, I don't know how many hives this year so far. Um, over 10. I know
Wow.
I've got one that I'm supposed to do on the 3rd.
And these are swarms that you're getting, that you're capturing, or
No,
these are
well, some are swarms, but for the most part, they're cutouts. Like I'm actually taking them out of people's houses.
okay.
Um, so I've got one that I've got to cut out of a guy's wall on the third, and then another one where I've actually got to cut open a lady's roof to get them out because it's like a small little jut out section.
Huh.
Um, and there's like no attic to it. They just did it for like decoration, I guess. And of course, the bees decided, hey, this would be a great home.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Thanks for building this for me.
yeah, exactly. And so I've actually got to take off that section of roof and get them out that way.
Interesting.
Uh, so that's going to be on the 8th, and then I've got another one that's supposed to be coming up. It's been a really busy year this year for removing bees, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did one the other day, and I got 10.5 gallons of honey out of these people's ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there were two hives, so that was just out of the one hive.
Wow. I need to
Yeah.
send my daughter up to do that with you sometimes. That'd be so cool to see.
That would be pretty cool. I try and video them all, which I'm way behind on my video editing. But yeah, I try and video them all. I put them all on Instagram Live. Um, so yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's nice to get paid for it too. But
Yeah.
but anyway,
Cool.
well, let's talk about something that you know a little bit more about.
Yeah.
So, what is your background? How did you get involved with MyTopo? Did you start it, or just tell me all about it?
So, no, my topo was started by two guys living in Red Lodge, Montana, in 1999, and they were doing sort of GIS consulting type work, helping farmers and ranchers map out their property and that kind of thing. And their buddies that all hunt and hike and everything kept coming by and saying, "Hey, can you guys make me a map of this area? Can you guys make me a map of this area?" And they decided to put their whole database online and say, no, we can't do it because we're too busy, but you can sit down at that computer terminal and make your own map. And they just essentially turned that system into a service that anybody can go online and order a map, and we print it and ship it within 24 hours. The innovative thing at that time was taking all of the USGS quad maps and syncing them together. So instead of having to carry four maps because the area you're going is in the corner of four USGS quad maps, you could carry one good waterproof, tear resistant map out in the field.
Yeah, and it's absolutely amazing. I love your guys' system. I've used it quite a bit, especially creating like custom maps and stuff.
Yeah, so over
Uh,
the years, I mean, it's been 20 years now. So over the years, we've added all kinds of options and, you know, uh, different base maps, different layers you can add, and so
yeah.
it continues to grow and change as new technology and new types of maps become available.
How did you get involved in it?
Well, I got involved shortly thereafter. I had just moved to Montana and I had been doing sort of uh, e-commerce policy work living in Washington D.C. and I just saw an article about MyTopo. They had gotten a big grant from one of the telecom companies, and I called and said, "Hey, this is really cool what you're doing. I don't know if any of my contacts could help you, but I'd sure love to see you guys succeed." And they brought me on immediately, and we've never looked back. Funny story, I just started trying to help them get the word out and tell people about their service. And one of the first calls I made was to a great Montana outdoor writer. Bill McCrae was his name, and I said, "Hey, we've got this really cool service that would, it's anybody anywhere in the world can use it. We've got it online. You can just go online and order your map." And he said, "I think my buddy John Zent over at NRA would think that's pretty cool. Let me give you his number." And so I called John Zent at NRA, and they ended up writing a great story about us and had my home phone number in the article
Oh
with
no.
1.3 million readers. So
Oh no.
for the next 3 years, I got calls, from people saying, "I just read about you in American Hunter magazine. Need a map."
Oh, that would be nuts. You probably getting calls at all different times of the
Well,
day. You.
It was great because I had, an infant at home, and so I was up at all hours of the night. So I'd be, rocking a baby and talking to a fella about getting his hunting maps ordered for him. So it
Oh,
worked out.
that's pretty cool. I honestly am right there with you. I would not look back after leaving DC.
No, no, I've loved living in Montana. My husband's from here, so it's been great. We've raised our two kids here now. One's in college and one's getting ready to be a senior in high school. So, and I've stayed with MyTopo that whole 20 years. So it's been great.
Wow, that's awesome. So, do you have a background in land nav or the
No,
outdoors
my
and stuff?
my background was more in, like I said, e-commerce policy work. So I'm a pretty avid outdoors person. I love hiking and backpacking, but yeah, no, I was not hired for my cartography skills. Those I've had to learn, and I'm still learning.
So, how hard was that?
You know, it's, I mean, I wouldn't say that I've ever perfected my cartography skills, but so I think there's always more to learn. But I think it's a loss, an art that I hope we don't lose. I think people rely on their electronic devices too much, and I think everyone should learn to read a map and be able to have confidence that they're not going to get lost. They know they've got their paper map with them, their compass. They know they can, get themselves out of a situation and not rely on a battery operated device to do so.
You are like completely echoing everything that I've said for a while now. Um, I
I mean,
100%.
I love using, we have an app that goes with that goes with we have a high-end mapping software, Terrain Navigator, and it comes with an app. And I use that app, when I'm out, and I love the combination of using the I mean, I use the app on my phone that acts just like a GPS device, but I love the combination of the electronic device with the paper map.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
you have to understand how to read a paper map, um,
Oh,
just as a baseline.
and transfer grid and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I really think that unfortunately is a hopefully never a dying art, but it definitely seems that way with technology the way it is. Everybody's going towards the GPS and all that kind of stuff, but I can't tell you how many times my batteries have died on my GPS. And if I would not have known how to read a map or use a compass, I don't know what would have happened. It would have been nuts.
Well, yeah. I mean, the search and rescue folks have told us as GPSs have grown in popularity, their amount of rescues they've had to do has gone up
I
because
believe it.
get a false sense of security and think that it's okay to go down in that ravine even though it's getting dark, and
Hmm.
they or just have this false sense of security. They can get themselves out of a situation, um, and I think it's caused some lack of respect for the challenges of being in the backcountry. But
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate you sort of being a advocate of people carrying a paper map. Personally, I don't know how people get any perspective on a 2-inch screen. I like having a nice big map to open it up and really study the area. It For me I feel like I just get a better sense of the terrain by looking at it on a nice big waterproof paper map.
Oh, I agree with you. Um, yeah, it's kind of weird though, right? Because if that same comfortability can also be said for a screen if that's the only thing that you've ever known. Um, but I'm right there with you. I would rather see like a whole area rather than just a screen and pan out and all that kind of. It's not my favorite. I like finding my coordinate sometimes. Find out if I'm off maybe a little bit or something like that. But for the most part, I can look at terrain features and um, you know all that kind of stuff and figure out, okay, well, I'm about right here, and that's really all I need.
Yeah.
But I was in search and rescue when I was in high school from like
15 years old, I think it was, in Broadwater County, and all the way up until 18 when I joined the military. And a lot of our rescues, actually, almost all of our rescues, I would say, were people who did not have a compass, did not have a map. And the ones that we rescued that did have a compass and a map just didn't know how to use it correctly.
Yeah.
And I think people take for granted because, especially out west, it's so wide open that you're like, I could never get lost out here. I can see for miles. I know exactly where I'm going. But it is really easy to get turned around sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, and the weather changes, all kinds of things can happen that can
oh yeah.
change the dynamics
Oh,
quickly.
absolutely. Oh, especially in Montana. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
Right.
Um, and it's something else that, it's not without its flaws, right? I was in New Mexico, and I actually had one of your guys' maps with me. And it was really cloudy and nasty. There was a wind, a sandstorm, and all that kind of stuff. I actually have a picture on my Instagram. I mean, you can't see anything. You can't even tell where the sun is. And so I was trying to figure out which way was which. And so I pull out my compass, and I'm like, it doesn't feel right, you know? Uh, and come to find out, as I move my compass around, my northern changed, and I found out it was because of some of the electronics that were throwing off my compass.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, it was a pretty scary moment, and I was like, oh crap, I just want to throw these things away because it was nuts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so how do people actually get a hold of your map? Can you walk through um, the whole process for
Yeah.
maybe creating a custom map or even the canned maps that you guys have?
So our website's mytopo.com. That's mytopo.com. And it's a pretty self-explanatory process once you get on there. There's only one red uh, block on our homepage, and it says find your map, and you just click there, and that takes you into the gives you all the options. So you have the option to make a custom map, or we have all the GMU maps for the western uh, big game hunters. If you've drawn a unit, you can just go straight in and order your unit and pop it in your shopping cart and check out in just a couple of steps. If if you've read a guidebook and it tells you you need these 3 USGS quads, it's easy to just go in and quickly order those 3 USGS quads. All the quads are listed. We should talk a little bit about that. The quads are interesting now. There's the USGS over a 100-year period, developed the 7.5-minute USGS quads. And in the last several years, they've started coming out with a derivative map from that original. They're no longer sending people out surveying, but they're updating the maps digitally, and those are called the US topos. And so we now have both sets. So there's 2 sets of quads you can order from. There's the classic quads have all the full detail. The new topos are missing some of the symbology from the originals. So a lot of us like are going to always rely on those original USGS quads. They're going to always be hard to beat. But the new US topos, if you're hunting in a more area that's got new neighborhoods and that kind of thing, or anything where you've got where there's been some recent development, that those new roads and all might be on the new topo and not on the old. So you kind of have to make a decision which one you prefer. So the canned maps are the GMU maps, the classic quads, the new US topos. But if you want to make a custom map, you just type in an address or a city, a tiny little lake, a mountain. Rivers are tough because it gives you the headwaters instead of the middle of the river. So, but any kind of geographic feature like a city, town, mountain, lake, you can type in, or your address. You can type in, and it'll start guessing what you're typing. And as soon as you see the one that's correct, click on it, and it'll take you into the next step. You center your map, and then you go to the next step, and you actually make your map. That's our step 2. And there's 4 base maps you can choose from: a topo, an aerial, a satellite, or a hybrid, which is a topo map overlaid on an aerial. You can choose the paper size. There's 5 paper sizes, from 18 inch by 24 inch all the way up to a big, huge 5 by 8 wall map that would look really good on that wall right behind you right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or you can choose the zoom level, and the zoom level is the scale. You and I know it as the scale. So 1 to 24,000 is the native scale for the topo maps, but each base map allows you a set of scales you can choose from. On the satellites, you can zoom all the way into a 1 to 100,000 scale, and you can zoom all the way out to a 1 to 50,000 scale. And we offer the 1 to 50,000 scale for people like you that served our country in the military, and that's what they use in the military. And it's
that's pretty much what I use.
Yeah, they're a little hard to read because the 1 to 24,000 is the native scale. So once you zoom out to 1 to 50, the print gets pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
But for you guys that are so good at map reading, you're more focused on the grid, and it doesn't matter if you can read the name of the creek as much as it matters that you can read the grid. So but if you've got a lot of times I recommend just do the 1 to 25,000, because the words are easier to read on the map. And
Well, you also are able to see the terrain features a lot more. If I'm going in a more finite area,
yeah,
because some of the game management units and stuff like that that you're hunting, because I don't want to carry this like huge 3-foot map or whatever, I'll scale it down to like the 18 by 24, and I'll do a 1 to 50,000.
Yeah.
But if I'm in like a smaller area, like when I was in Texas, it was really kind of a small area. I put it at 1 to 24,000 so that I could see more of the terrain features and more finite areas and stuff like that. So it was a little bit easier to read.
Yeah, the detail of the map doesn't change. The same words and same everything are still on the map. It just is like a magnifying glass.
Right.
It gets the print, everything just gets a little smaller as you zoom out to 1 to 50.
Right.
But anyway, so you make your map on step 2, and the key thing is to stay on that step until you're happy with it. You preview it, and you can literally see exactly we actually make the map in front of you, and so you can see exactly what your map's going to look like. And then you go to step 3. You can personalize it. You can give it a title, subtitle, put your name on it. You can choose whether it's rolled or folded.
Mm-hmm.
And then you order the map, and we print it and ship it within 24 hours.
Right, absolutely. And one thing I would say to be very careful of, if you're going to use it in conjunction with the GPS, make sure you set it up to match like NAD 27 or NAD 86, whatever.
Yeah, most people can just leave the settings the way we have them, because we have them the most common.
Mm-hmm.
But the datum is what you're referring to, NAD 27 or NAD 83. In the US, NAD 83 and WGS 84 are the same. And that's the default setting that most GPS devices come with. So most people in the US are going to want to choose the NAD 83, which is our default setting.
Mm-hmm.
NAD 27 is good if you're, most of the time we see people using that is if you're doing genealogy, or if you're a Civil War buff, or following the Lewis and Clark Trail, or so those kind of things. People
Right.
be comparing an old map with a new map. Comparing an old map. They want the newest map with the datum from 27, so they can compare it with the original map. So 27 refers to 1927, and 83 refers to 1983. So the 83 is the newer one.
Yeah, but it will definitely throw you off if you
about 200 feet.
Yeah.
Get me off every time.
Yeah, it will definitely. Which 200 feet may not be that big of a deal if you're hunting a wide area, but
well, it's funny. It's one of those things that you talk about me being here for 20 years and still learning things. Finally, after a few years, when people kept saying, my map is about 200 feet off from where my GPS says I am. And finally, I was like, okay, wait a second. and I realized that their datum set wrong. They've got their map datum's different than their GPS datum every time. So it was one of those things I had to sort of learn, you know,
Yeah.
if you're about 200 feet off, it's probably a datum issue.
Yeah. So what sort of navigational features do you use, or navigational tools do you use? Obviously a compass, but what do you use, a Lensatic, or what sort of compass do you use?
No, I just have a very basic one, and then I use our phone app for Terrain Navigator. There's lots of good phone apps. Onyx Maps here in Montana has a good phone app.
Oh, I love
Uh,
Onyx. Yeah.
yeah, Gaia GPS, View Ranger, Backcountry Navigator. There's several, but I use the one that comes with our software, Terrain Navigator, and then I use compass and a paper map.
Nice. Yeah, I am not opposed to using your guys' app. I just don't know a lot about it, but I use Onyx mainly because I'm hunting all the time.
Well, our app, we used to have a consumer app that you could just buy the app. But we now it's part of now it's we put all of our development energy into our software. Our software is used by a lot of the search and rescue teams around the country, a lot of law enforcement, a lot of governments, fish and wildlife, that kind of thing. And it's expensive. It's $240 a year per state per user.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, it's a professional level software, a lot of oil and gas surveyors, geologists, that kind of thing. And the app is comes with that. And so one of the perks of being an employee here is I get access to that and can use that app. It's got a few more bells and whistles than I'll ever need, but I like recording my track, and then I like coming home and being able to take that track and upload it on a printed map and order a printed map. And I've got a collection of hikes that I've done on
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
on the maps with the track recorded on them.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, you just take the GPX file and there's a section in MyTopo where you can take a GPX file and upload it and then order the map with your own GPX file overlaid on it. So that's kind of a fun thing to do if you can export the GPX file out of your phone app, email it to yourself like a picture, and then upload it onto a printed map.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That might be something that I try and do.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I use as well. I've got a basic compass. You think, being military, I'd use a Lensatic compass maybe, but I found that those things are really heavy, and you could probably use it to defend your life with if you had to. But I hate using that thing. Uh, but I've got a basic compass, and then on the top of it, it's got a little bit of a magnifying glass with it, so it makes it a little bit easier to read the 1 in 50,000s. And then on my watch, I've got a Sunto little compass that attaches to the wristband, and so for my heading, I'll adjust that just like I would for my compass, and I'll keep that heading,
Yeah.
so I don't have to pull out my compass all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but on a trail, maybe not necessary for that kind of thing. But hunting is definitely it's nice to have.
Yeah, for sure. What I can do is after we're done talking, I'll send you a link to a little tutorial that's super easy for anybody to follow. It's like 20 slides, and you can post that if you want for
Oh, absolutely, that'd be great.
viewers. That'll just give people sort of the basics. I use the UTM grid, and this will give people sort of the basics of northing, easting, read, write, up. Just sort of the basic tips on how they can learn to use the UTM grid.
Oh, absolutely. And does it have in there, transferring from your grid coordinates to your GPS coordinates and
Yeah,
stuff like that?
it shows you how to plot your points along the way. So you see the blue dot, get your reading, plot it onto your map.
Oh, that would be awesome. I think a lot of people would really benefit from that. Um, yeah, that would be great. One thing that I'm and I may actually use MyTopo in a roundabout way. is I'm doing a thing with REI, and it's called bridging the gap. It's finding the comparisons between hunters and non-hunters, and
Ah,
basically finding the similarities, because we're all using the same stuff, right? We're all,
absolutely.
navigating, using same gear, all that kind of stuff, right? So um, something that I may do is bring up, this whole podcast and MyTopo and all that, uh, to kind of help with that and say, hey, look, we're using the same stuff. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think that,
a lot of backpackers, if you're just doing, little day hikes and, not getting too far into the backcountry, there's probably a Trails Illustrated map or even the map that they hand you at that's not a true to scale map for the park or wherever you're hiking.
mhm.
But if you're going into the backcountry, especially if you're doing overnight backpacking, that kind of thing, and getting where people aren't,
Yeah,
and that's for hunters, I mean, that's the key, is getting where people aren't and animals are.
yeah,
If if you're getting into the backcountry at all, you you'd be well served by carrying a good MyTopo waterproof tear resistant map and keeping it in your backpack and checking it about every 30 minutes or so, checking and making sure you know where you are with on that paper map. It's just a
yeah.
good smart way to
and and
navigate.
and keeping up on that kind of stuff, it's easy to forget that kind of stuff too. So if you got to keep practicing it.
Yeah, and our maps fold up into a 4-inch by 9-inch pocket size map, even the largest, even the 36 by 48s, fold up, and just good to have that paper map with you.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah,
Waterproof paper map.
yeah, definitely waterproof. That was a big thing for me too. That I absolutely love, because I did this other company. I don't want to mention any names, but I did this other company at one time, and it came in and it was not waterproof,
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, this is gonna suck. I'm gonna get so lost. And ultimately, what happened was it rained and that thing got wet, and
yeah.
uh, so I was like, is that a cliff, or was this just where water ran together? Or, I wasn't I wasn't sure. I
We've had
was
some
almost like,
crazy stories with our waterproof maps. We had a guy, each one of our maps has a unique ID on it, and we had a guy call us and say he found our map up in the high mountains in Yosemite, and found it in a stream, and he couldn't believe it because he said,
wow,
this looks like it's brand new. And I'm like, well, read me the order number, the map ID on it. So the map ID tells me what the date is for the way our map IDs are. And I'm like, no, that map's it's a year old. That map was ordered last year.
holy
And
crap,
so anyways, he ended up being so curious about this map that and I could know from the map ID who had ordered it. So I ended up putting those two in touch with each other. And the guy who had lost it knew exactly when he had lost it. He had gotten off trail and was bushwhacking, and he was sort of trying to follow a stream down, and he was, you know, bouldering over a little stream and trying to keep his balance as he's walking downhill on following a stream. And he said he knew he had kind of had a stumble or whatever, and he dropped something and he picked something else up, and he knows that that's when the map fell out, and he just didn't realize that the map had also fallen out of his pocket. And so
oh,
anyways, that map we figured out had been in that cold mountain stream through a whole 9 months, through a whole winter, and was perfectly in good shape.
that
So,
is awesome. That's a testament to a good
yeah.
product.
Yeah, I mean, it's waterproof inks, waterproof paper, UV fade resistant, you know,
That's
should
awesome.
should last you a good many hikes.
Yeah, definitely. So moral of the story is go out and buy a MyTopo,
Yeah,
and they're
definitely.
really not that expensive.
No, they're just a couple bucks more than a paper map that you'd order from the government and take 2 weeks to get to you, and ours are gonna be there in 2 or 3 days and be
Hmm.
waterproof and last you forever.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate it. Where can people find you guys?
Yeah, go to mytopo.com, or we have a toll-free number. We're happy to take phone calls. It's 877-587-9004. We're also on social media, Facebook and Twitter. You can email support@mytopo.com, and we're our hours are 8 to 5 Mountain Time, but we love what we do. A lot of us will answer our emails after hours. We're always happy to help people. It's our passion. It's what we love. We want you to get a good map and be safe in the backcountry and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful country we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys, real quick, do you guys have any affiliates with any other sort of navigational gear? Like,
There's a company that we get our grid tools from called maptools.com. We really like those guys. They make a great little plastic grid reader that is great for coordinating between your GPS and your paper map, just to put that grid tool down and be able to read right to the practically where you're standing. But maptools.com, they also have some really good tutorials to help people learn to navigate better. So that's an affiliate. A lot of outdoor companies resell our maps, but in terms of recommending gear, I mentioned a few apps we like, but we don't have any affiliate relationships with them necessarily, but just things we personally use and like.
okay, yeah, that's awesome. I just want to make sure that if there were any sort of like compasses or anything like that.
Yeah, map tools is a great place to go to get grid tools. And compasses, there's a lot of good ones. Most of the phone apps have a compass built in.
Yeah,
So,
they absolutely do, as long as your phone doesn't die.
as long as your phone doesn't die.
Yeah, that's why I'm all about using hardware.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I really, really appreciate you coming on. This has been an absolute great experience, and I hope that that other people are served well by getting your guys' maps and actually learning how to use a map and compass, taking it back a little bit.
Yeah, it's not hard to learn, and it could save your life.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Aaron. Thank you.